Munuhe's mother Lydia Wangoi told the media from her home in Morogoro, Nyeri, that her son, a twin in a family of 5, was the brightest in her family.
Na tangu ni akiwa mtoto anajua ni anaenda shule ya kwanza stand 1, alimfano wake nilikuwa ninaona iko na akili mingi. Ni mtu mwerefu.
Born in Morogoro in Nyeri 1975, the 27-year-old man was last seen with his family in December 2002, less than a month before he was discovered dead. The brother told case files when Munuhe arrived home, he was a man with many plans.
Tumwombe juu anaenda nchi ya Amerika. Na ile nchi ya Amerika anaenda, ataenda kifaulu, vile anaenda kufanya, atatufikiria hata kama ni kutupromote. Angalau tutoke kwa hii maisha tumelelewa na hapa shida, maisha ibadilike kidogo. Na pia wazazi anunulie shamba na anunulie na ajengee nyumba. Hakutuambia, ndio alikuwa anatuambia kuna marafiki Amerika.
Munuhe will later leave home for Nairobi, and for weeks he kept in touch with his family. All this time, Munuhe never told the family how and when he was planning to travel to the United States of America. After his body was discovered, the family was jolted back into reality. Maybe their own was up to something big. As speculation mounted over the possible reason behind Munuhe's murder, human rights organizations stepped in and demanded a second post-mortem on the deceased. The first autopsy had returned carbon monoxide poisoning as the cause of the 27-year-old's death. The family did not buy the findings and demanded the third autopsy to be conducted on Munuhe's remains.
Tulikuta narara, tulikuta ni jacho tu alikuwa naye nyingi. Nikauliza hiyo swali, nikamuuliza hata kama kukiwa Kareni, hata kama upande ya Gongo ni karibu, sasa Munuhe iko na hita jiko na makaa wametoana wapi? Na jiko alikuwa wanafanya kasini yake wasanyiche wajue alienda Karen.
His body was moved from Chiromo mortuary to the Lee funeral home. Despite the first and second post-mortem reports returning the same verdict that Munuhe had died as a result of carbon monoxide poisoning, the third autopsy was inconclusive.
Of the toes of the deceased had his nail missing. The big toe had its nail missing, which we suspect must have been torture. They have also not explained why blood was spattered on the walls. They have indicated that there were a lot of flies in the room, and it is true. You could see the remains there. But you wonder where they passed, if it is true what they are saying, that the windows to that room was closed.
The revelation further deepening the widely held suspicion that Munuhe was a victim of a plan gone wrong. Munuhe had become a victim of a hit squad.
We also appeal to the U.S. Embassy to come out clearly and tell the observation of the 3 officials, representatives, who were sent during the autopsy. We are also interested in to know what capacities they had come in, whether they were, they were doctors, security, or pathologists.
It was the first time that the American government showed its hand in what had turned into a highly charged diplomatic standoff involving 3 countries. The Rwandan government that still maintained Kabuga was in the country was the first one to fire the first salvo.
Definitely he must have been protected by highly placed people, because otherwise it is inconceivable that up to today the man has not been apprehended.
There were allegations that he was killed because he was trying, or he had attempted to lure the Rwandese fugitive Felicien Kabuga into his house to be arrested by the FBI. Those were the initial stories that were going around us, and for a long time that is the story that the media carried, that this was a journalist who had been commissioned by the FBI to draw Kabuga out of hiding so that he gets arrested, because Kabuga had a price tag on his head.
The embassy's silence after this theory has been propounded might also mean that they don't mind those findings that the deceased committed suicide.
The American government finally owned up and announced that Samuel Mwaura Munuhe was their spy. Munuhe had been enlisted by the American Federal Bureau of Investigations, the FBI, to lure the Rwandan fugitive into a trap. American ambassador to Kenya at the time told the local media that Munuhe, a journalist cum spy, had closely worked with FBI agents in the country and was the contact person between Kenyan security agencies and the American investigators. On the second week of January 2003, the FBI and the Kenyan police officers had planned to lure Kabuga into Munuhe's house in Karen for his capture. The operation was called off at the last minute and there was no explanation given. It wasn't until 4 days later and the discovery of Munuhe's body in his house that pieces of a hunting mission fell in place. Munuhe had fallen victim to a hit squad that had thrown a protective cover around the Rwandan genocide suspect. After the FBI called off the mission, it is suspected that unknown people tracked down Munuhe to his house, had him killed before locking the house. It wasn't until 4 days later when his neighbors noticed something was amiss. Munuhe was nowhere to be seen and no one had come visiting him. The American government admitted that Munuhe was a victim of a gang that had gotten wind of the joint Kenyan and American manhunt of getting the Rwandan genocide financier. Munuhe's murder had now attracted the concern of the international community. A Kibaki administration, just weeks into office, was hard pressed to explain how Munuhe had met his death.
You make of it when the police commissioner tells Kenyans that Munuhe inhaled carbon monoxide and died.
The government had maintained carbon monoxide poisoning was the actual cause of the journalist's death. The family was also digging in. Days before Samuel Munuhe was laid to rest, the then Internal Security Permanent Secretary Zakayo Cheriot, now named as an associate of Samuel Munuhe, told the media he had known Samuel Munuhe for some time and he was a man who will pass on information to the government on security and corruption. Zakayo denied ever meeting Kabuga or shielding him. Cheriot will further reveal that 2 weeks before the journalist's death, Munuhe had called him and told him he had met Kabuga. Zakayo told the media he advised Munuhe to pass on the information to the then CID director, Francis Sang. It wasn't until a few days before his murder and now out of office that Munuhe again contacted Zakayo Cheriot. Munuhe had wanted to speak to the CID director once again. Munuhe never got a chance to do it. As the body of Samuel Munuhe was laid to rest, a new administration, an angry family and a shocked nation was trying to make tail and head of the suspect death of Samuel Mwaura Munuhe. His killers, whom he says he saw before he died, covered up their tracks but left him a chance to pen his dying declaration.
Hiyo jinsi alikuwa nayo ndio palikuja pakapatikana na ndugu yangu kopi 4 za barua, na hiyo barua ndio ilifanya nikajua juu kuna mali litaja watu na ikasema vile alikuja akashikiwa sijui safari paka hotel mpaka ikawa amefika kiwango ya kuwa ameumizwa, lakini hakuuliwa tu wakati huo. Hiyo ndio nilikuja kujua kwamba inaonekana hii jambo ilikuwa inahusu wao watu.
Samuel Munuhe was dead, but his story had just begun. Next week on Case Files, we return to the house where Samuel Munuhe's body was discovered. We tell you the lies peddled by the state agencies and why the whereabouts of Felicien Kabuga will remain just that, whereabouts. Case Files, Samuel Munuhe concludes next week. Denson Sarigu for Case Files.